I did touch on vision. Now, I do want to ask, what would you say to a competitor coming in, giving them advice on sticking true to the goals that they have for their own particular body?
Find some discipline to make plans, right? Because I think that there needs to be milestones, right? When you create your own milestones, then it becomes easier to block out the milestones that other people feel like you should have. When I started my journey, I wanted to know what it felt like to be in the best shape ever of my life. And at that point, the best shape ever was just to get lean and to build a little bit of muscle. But that was the first milestone. So I think that they need to start with milestones. So if your first milestone is to, get into as close of contest shape as possible, because I've heard that, then that needs to be the first milestone. But then that milestone needs to be broken down into steps, action steps. Let me plot out what I need to do for myself first. I started getting magazines. Oxygen magazine became my favorite. Muscle and Fitness, hers was also a favorite, but Oxygen was my go-to. And I began to just plot out action steps. So they had these little tear-offs where you could tear off, the workout of the week, and you could take it with you to the gym, right? And you can kind of start tracking, how you were going to progress. And that's where I started. I wanted to see, what is it going to look like and feel like for me to just get into my very best shape on my own? You need to formulate your plan, because it's almost like if you don't learn to stand on your own too, right? You got to learn to stand on your own too, because if you don't, you're going to be at the whim of all kinds of different people. Right. So I bought a training log. I had my tear outs. I subscribed to the magazine. I was all in. I had this little book that I was following too, that my mom gifted me. And I would just start planning my workouts. And I was doing it. I didn't have anybody else that was going to do it for me. I did it. So you need to figure out what you can do on your own. Going to have that discipline in setting your milestones and your action steps. And it's something that you need to do and you need to research and have on your own. Because having that really gave me the wherewithal to start formulating the next milestone. Because the next milestone, once I got to a certain point, was, all right, I like the way I'm looking. I feel like I'm making progress, but what's going to force me to take it to the next level? Doing a show. And so I emailed Robert Kennedy, and I tell people this a lot. And he was so gracious. He emailed back. And I said, I've been a huge fan of the magazine. I've been a faithful subscriber. I love the girls in the magazine. I like their looks, many of their looks. How do you pick the girls and I wanted to model, but I knew at a certain point, I'm like, okay, I'm not a high fashion because I'm not tall and I'm not thin. How do you get these girls? And he emailed back. He said, well, we're at the shows. We're at many of these bodybuilding shows. And if we like their look, we approach them. And I said, okay. So my next milestone is going to be see how close I can get to being contest ready. And that's how the journey really started to begin. But a lot of it started from, I just wasn't happy with what I looked at in the mirror. I felt like I went through a bad breakup, and I was like, you know what? I need to revamp myself. I need to revamp myself, and I need to stop being in and out of the gym and kind of being wishy-washy with it. I need to commit. And I knew once I subscribed to that magazine, I said, all right, and I got that gym membership on my own. I said, all right, I'm committed. Now I'm committed. Because then you start to feel that happiness. Okay, I'm actually doing what it takes to bring myself more joy, to bring myself more happiness, and to feel good about this body that I'm living in.
So Oxygen, you heard her, right? You need to put Andrea Shaw on the cover.
I would still love to be in Oxygen magazine.
Oxygen, you hear it first. Put Miss Olympia on the cover.
Give me at least a spread inside.
Yeah, give her a spread. There we go. Miss Olympia.
But thank God, I have been able to get into Muscle and Fitness, hers. And that's been a joy. Again, a dream come true. That became another action step or milestone in my dream box. Maybe not an action step, but it was a motivator for the action, I should say. Yeah. And again, you start to, when you sit and take that time to really dive within, you will start to formulate what it is that becomes those milestones.
3 more. This one that I really like. I look up to Linda, and I know you do too. And I've seen this a lot, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but you get compared a lot. And so
Yes.
for me, I would be like, I'm sure you're excited. As a big fan, right? Bodybuilding, she is to me, right? Most fans, this classic standard of women's bodybuilding, right? So what is that like being, compared to 8-time Miss Olympia, being in the same conversations, aside from your personal friendship, what does that hold to you?
Well, it's kind of odd that you asked that because a lot of people started comparing me long before I formed a friendship with her.
Mm.
So I started going to a local powerhouse in a city called Highland Park. And this powerhouse is the original. I know you've probably seen me say it on Instagram. It's the first one in the country. So it was the very first powerhouse. That's why they call it the original. But Linda used to train there. So she trained there for many years up until her first Miss Olympia. And when I started training there back in 2017, people started to kind of look like, because that's when I first started working with my coach. And I'm like, you know what? I think I want to go pro. And we started to put together this game plan for 2018 because 2017 was just a little too rushed. I had just started a new job and I really wanted to try to master, the duties of my job. And we were so late into the season, I really didn't feel like I was going to give myself my best shot at getting that pro card. So I said, well, let's start off fresh in 2018, but let's still train right now because we need to start getting ready. So I'm going to Powerhouse several times a week, very consistently. And people just started to like, no, you really look like Linda Murray. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I've been like a fan of her since I was a little girl because at my very first Powerhouse, they had this huge mural of her painted on the wall. And so when I looked at her, that was the day when I decided I want to know what it feels like to be in the best shape of my life. I was looking at her picture. And yeah, and that's when I started to like really go after, at least being consistent in the gym. But once I got to Powerhouse in Highland Park, it became people started to see what I had been working on. And they started calling me Little Linda. And when I found out that she had a show here in Detroit, and she's since removed her show from the schedule now because she's got other commitments. I knew I wanted to do her show. I said, oh my gosh, all right, if I'm getting ready to do a show locally and she's coming, I'm going to do her show. And even at that point, I met her at her show. She grabbed my leg and she says, I remember these.
Aww.
And remember, I was still a women's physique competitor at that time, but I was just so happy to meet her. To see her gave me even more inspiration and ambition to go after, because like it was 12 days. It was 12 or 11 days between when I did her show and when I had my very first national show. I wanted to try to peak for the national level show, but then come into her show and maybe do like a mini peak to see, what tweaks we needed to make before we hit North Americans. I just became very inspired to just keep going.
Yeah.
After seeing her and winning her show, I'm like, man, this is a phenomenal lady and she's nice. It's like, you have sometimes these ideas of people of
Right.
right? But when I met her, I was like, oh my God, she is
He is who you thought she
even better than I even imagined.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I would say we probably didn't start forming a friendship until 2019. But she knew of me, right? So and I told her about the story of people her calling me Little Linda at the gym. And yeah, I mean, I think that it was just such an honor for me to have looked at her picture and say, I want to see what I can do to be in the best shape of my life. And then finally start hearing it from people to be recognized
It was affirming to you.
comparable, yeah, a comparable to an 8-time. To be compared to her felt like an honor. It still feels like an honor, but she told me, you let them know they can't call you that anymore.
Right. You
Yeah,
are you. Right.
woman in your own right, and you deserve that. But I still to this day, if anybody compares me to her, I feel very honored. Even my mom, she says, we took this picture side by side. I
Mhm.
can send it to you. Where we look at our faces and the face shape is very similar. My mom's like, I wonder who had you, me or her?
How
Yeah,
funny.
and I do. I love and respect Linda so very much.
That's so cool that you not only like being compared to her, but then being able to have that full circle moment with her. And then the fact that she was everything and more. I mean, that's just like, oh, that's a really beautiful story, how that worked out. And then you ended up going to become Miss Olympia.
2 Miss Olympias from one gym. I don't think we've ever heard of it in the history of the sport.
With that being said, how would you split you into two? Andrea Shaw, the person, and Andrea Shaw, the bodybuilder.
I know that we don't advocate that people do this, but I have wrapped a lot of me into the sport. And it goes back to even when I declared my college major, right? Exercise at a certain point along my journey, I was not competing with the intent of becoming a pro back then. We're talking 2008 and 2007. I wanted to compete, but I was not looking to. I remember I was looking to just get into the best shape.
Right.
But even in changing my college major, I started off in marketing. Then I went to IT. Then I finally said, you know what? Exercise to me is so valuable and meaningful. I want to devote my life to it. So then I declared my major as an exercise and sports science major. So, I mean, this has become such a part of my identity. And again, I know people say don't become, the identity of your sport, but it's because of what I love about exercise that makes me that way. And I think a lot of it stems from what I saw my mom transform into when I got back to Michigan. So when I got back to Michigan, my mom was on a path to return back to school for her master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
He had sent me to live with my dad as she worked on her bachelor's degree. And the confidence that I saw my mom start to develop by being in the gym, managing being a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
Again, by this time my dad had gotten sick and my dad was pretty much on his way to, leaving us. And watching how she was able to empower herself became something that as a little girl I held on to.
Yeah.
And so I still make that a part of my life's mission right now. So again, it's hard to separate me as Miss Olympia because I've gotten so woven into it with these other aspects of wanting to help and devoting, some my academic life to that. But aside from that, I mean, Andrea is a girl who likes to watch World War II history, play Jeopardy, travel. I love museums. I love learning about history and artifacts. Those types of things really just intrigue me. I think that there's nothing like knowing history so that kind of how to navigate, because human behavior is the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
The characters just change.
Yep.
So certain things that are patterns,
Human nature is the same.
Yeah, certain gifts and talents through arts. I
Mm-hmm.
like to study about people's lives. Yeah, so that part becomes very, very a part of me as just Andrea. But yeah, I mean, a big part of my life, I would say 95% of my life is still Andrea, involved in some way with fitness. Even when I retire from the stage, I will still train. I will still help people with posing. I will still be involved with the IFBB and the MPC. I mean, I'm a promoter now. And now Jim has gone on record that he's put me at the judges table when I retire. So I'll be judging, preferably judging Olympia level. I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, finding more ways to give back. But
Sure.
this is a big part of who I am choosing to be.
That's the key word. Choice. It's a choice, right? And something that you choose to do rather than what you have to do. That little switch of the word, right? It's just that makes all the difference.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And it brings me so much joy. It brings me so much joy. I mean, in a way, it's almost selfish because I get to see these ladies transform and have so much so much more confidence.
Yeah,
Much more confidence in who they are as women.
sure.
And you can't put a price on that.
This is a big year, not just because you're defending yet another 2 titles, but we are turning the big 4. Oh, the
Ooh,
big 4.
really? Oh my
Which
God.
which I can't believe you're gonna be 40. I mean, 40 is the new 30 anyway. I
I'm
mean,
only 28.
yeah, there we go. Forever 28. Tell me about this whole new this is gonna be a whole new journey for you, a whole new book. What are you most looking forward to?
Winning. Winning.
I know it's gonna be like, well, your birthday's in December, so you're not gonna be competing and winning in the same month, or winning and birthday in the same month. But aside from, yes, perfect scenario, you get your crowns again. What are you looking forward to, just as in general, right? You're celebrating a milestone, 40. And
I am.
you've done what some people, I'm not talking about Olympia itself, but just being able to, in your own life, get to a place where you feel joy, you feel fulfillment, you feel good. Not many people can say that.
And I think that I still feel like in this, it's so amazing how this journey is continuing to evolve and elevate. Like every year, it just gets better and better, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. But I lost my dad when he turned 40 years of age.
Oh,
And so I haven't planned what I'm going to do just yet, but I'm going to find a way to honor him this year a little bit differently, because, I think that, reaching 40 it's a milestone, but it's a significant one. And I'm so excited to like let him watch me from heaven win these next 2 shows. But I want to do something a little bit different, whether it's, going to get, old videos and photos and make a collage or get a cake or something. I'm going to do
right.
something that, involves me and my family, maybe getting on either a Zoom or, getting together to do something just to commemorate, thank God for his life. But thank God that at 40, he can watch from heaven me elevate to an even higher level than he was able to get to. Um, so yeah, I'm just walking into this with so much gratitude because 40 is young. It's
It
very
is.
young,
It is.
very young. And my mom is coming to the Olympia this year, so I'm absolutely excited. My mom has never seen me compete
Mm.
in person except for once as an amateur. So this is like a big deal. So that's part of what I'm kind of planning. And she knows that this one for me, and with me turning 40, right? It's meaningful. It's meaningful. So I'm so excited. I can hardly like get it out. That she can be there to watch me compete in person. And again, even as an amateur, she only came out once. So now that she can actually be there, and I'm gonna roll out the red carpet for mama. I mean, we're getting VIP tickets. I'm getting her, a room. I'm getting mama everything she needs to make her comfortable and just make sure she feels like she's a part of the whole experience, right? So I'm
Oh,
gonna bring her to the expo. I'm gonna bring her to the Star Seminar on Sunday. I mean, yeah, I'm wanting mama to get the full experience. And then we'll go and hang out probably between Sunday and Monday before we leave. It'll be fun.
let's close this out. Got the little voice in your head. What is it saying to you right now?
Time to get to work. Every single day. What we doing today to make sure we put in the work. Yeah, it becomes almost an obsession. My coach will tell you, he has had to literally tell me some days, you need to leave. Yeah, I almost got into a car accident from the first Rising Phoenix that I won.
Wow.
I was up at 2 in the morning when I should have been asleep, back at the gym. On my way to the airport.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I was exhausted. I was tired, but I knew I wanted to just give every little bit that I felt like I could. And I still carry that desire to just feel like I know I've done everything that I could. I mean, even when I go to the Olympia, I worked out the day before the show. I asked my coach, I mean, I got tan on. And I'm like, can I go do cardio? And he's like, do you really feel like you can? I was like, I feel like I can do a little bit. He let me go. He let me go. I will work right up until. And a lot of people don't, I mean, like I told you, like when you have that pain that runs that deep, you got to channel it.
Right.
And this is probably the most intimate that I've ever been about some of the things that have driven me. Yes, I want to win, but I think some people don't understand that sometimes there is a level of pain that will drive you even further. It's been over 20 years, and I still remember where I was when I got the call, what I had on.
Yeah.
It it never leaves you.
Yeah.
It never leaves you. But I can do what I can do to make sure that my daddy is going to be proud of me, and so is my mom.
Yeah.
Everything that I can, and especially even for the mistakes that I have made in the past, right? I feel like every time I get a chance to redeem myself, I do need to make the most of that time and do my very best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I mean, I didn't make the best choices once my dad left, right? Because again, the pain, you let pain drive you, again, it can bring you to your knees.
Yeah.
Thank God for this opportunity, right? This is where people probably don't understand that part. I look at this as an opportunity. God's given me another opportunity to just keep at it. It's been a gift. It's not a burden. It's a gift. I'm glad you understand. You get it. You get it. And I mean, I don't look for people to understand. It's not their journey, right? But it is nice when somebody does understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And you're right. It's our own individual journey that we must walk and we must lead. And that is why I wanted you to go there with me today. And I'm glad that you felt like you could, because it's going there with me that people will actually, I feel, see some things that they didn't see before. And I think that also too, it's gonna elevate not just you, but I feel like what it means to make it to the level that you've made it at, that much more, right? I've heard you say it before, but you've never, but from the interviews that because I've done my research, right? You haven't really, but people don't, but the questions, the questions have to allow you to go there, right? Respectfully, right? But in saying all of that, you've said it before. People think this happens overnight, but it hasn't. But I feel in this particular instance, certain things that you've spelled out and communicated, it will show without a shadow of a doubt that this was not overnight, that this wasn't something that was just handed out to you, that this was something that you had to fight truly for, because this was something that started before you even became a physique competitor and got your pro card.
Exactly. It started in the 13-year-old girl
that lost her father. I'm talking to that girl. I heard that girl enough to get that that's where we're at.
And that's where
I had respect for you more. I had respect for you before, but I have a new level of respect for you. I do. Because, it's nice to show humility. And as somebody who does respect you, and for somebody that may feel bad about themselves, maybe has a little bit of insecurity and doubt, this is going to speak to that person who thinks you have it all together, who thinks that you have to have it all together in order to get started, or in order to even have a chance. And to show that we don't always make the best decisions and we're not always perfect. You still can speak to us and talk to us and try to understand, even if you didn't walk the same path. To me, that's something to be respected, more so than how many times you win and have a crown on your head.
Because as an amateur, you're going to pay. Oh, you're going to pay. You're going to pay through, tanning, entry fees, travel, all that, right? There was not going to be anything that I would not spare as a cost to do it. And I asked myself, I said, if there was no Miss Olympia, if there was no pro card, I'll still do this. Absolutely. Absolutely, because it means that much more to me, because when friends walked away, when boyfriends left,
Mhm.
I always had Jesus, my mama, and Jim. GYM.
GYM. We gonna change that one up for just, I get it.
But it means that much to me. It really
Mhm.
does. And again, I saw what it did in transforming my mom,
Mhm.
and I've firsthand had the experience of what it has been able to do for me. It definitely causes you to raise the standards, especially when it comes to like dating, right? If I'm putting all this effort in, there's only gonna be a certain type of man we're gonna entertain here.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got standards here, and they must be met. They must be met, because I take this very serious, and I'm not gonna let anybody tear me down.
Right.
And God has helped me and shown me how to build this up. I'm not going to let anybody tear it down. I don't care who you are, famous, notable, athlete, I don't care. Your title and your position means nothing. How you treat me means everything. So yeah,
Ooh, that was a
it's
PSA.
okay. That right there.
I felt that. I felt
But
it.
yeah, it became a, you know what, based on this investment that I'm putting into myself
Yeah.
with this gift that God has given me. And God gives all kinds of other gifts. But this is what I, again, have readily seen as a gift to me.
Mhm.
Start raising your standards. You do, you start raising your standards.
Mhm.
And I'm not better than anybody else, but I know my worth. And I put in a lot of time, and a lot of prayer. And yeah, I've sacrificed a lot, but it means a lot. But I think too, the more you sacrifice, you show God that you are willing to take that next level and step up. I believe personally that once you do make your prayer and you make your declaration about what it is that you want, all heaven and earth will get behind you. Maybe it's not necessarily this way, and you will course correct, right? Or go a different way, because that's your path.
Right.
That's your path. I didn't want to be a female bodybuilder. I wanted to be a women's physique competitor. I really wanted to be a figure competitor. So then the transition from women's physique to women's bodybuilder was not that big of a deal for me, because I said, I want to keep competing. So it didn't matter to me where they said I needed to go. I was going. I didn't need to think about it. My coach kept asking, are you sure? I done already made my mind up. I'm telling you, we're getting ready to go do Chicago Pro. Be there.